on everyone? My name is MGTheFuture. I have another exclusive tutorial for you guys at the Maschine Masters, another type beat demonstration using FL Studio for Mac. My target this week is going to be the artist and producer Big K.R.I.T. His latest album, Forever is a Mighty Long Time, came out in recent time, and I've been studying the mixes on it. I noticed that they're using a lot of mix of instruments and samples, and this is common for some artists, but considering he produced most of this, is really impressive. So there's a lot of soul samples. There's even some examples of sample blending. There's some live guitars. There's live drums even. And then straight in the middle, there's 808s and dirty south and trap rhythms. So we'll be talking about that. I'll be tagging in Serato for this particular demonstration just to kind of make it easy. I'll be in FL Studio, of course. In this particular instance, I have 3 empty instances of Serato just in case I need them. And then I have East West Play with some live drums to make up for my live aspect. And then I'm going to use Trap Next Door drums for the Dirty South part, straight down the middle. And I think we should be good. This would be a pretty cool demonstration for those of you who haven't used Serato yet, let alone using it to blend multiple samples. I've used it once when I had the trial in the summertime for the Kendrick Lamar with the Bruno Mars sample in reverse. But this is going to be a little bit different. So let's get started. I have a random folder of samples that are pre-cut. With Serato, it's important to have samples at a decent length in order for the fine sample algorithm to work. I know the samples under 2 bars really didn't give me any results. I know what some of these are, not all of them. So I'm going to kind of just demonstrate them and let's see what happens. I'm going to change the keys of these real quick in lieu of the sample police. So we can use key here to change the key of our sample. You see it detected it was B flat minor. And it's already mapping it to the tempo of my project, which is 154, because our culture musically is moving back to the golden era as far as 80 beats per minute and 90 beats per minute. DJ Mustard's kind of responsible for that because all his club bangers are in the 90s and 100s, but a lot of people are sampling again, so you'll notice that when you sample, it sounds better at the pitch and speed of 80s and 90s. So I'm going to use C3, which is the first pad on Serato to kind of make my first mark where this line is. And then I'm going to hold it to play the sample through and see if it's something we can use for this type of beat. Absolutely, we could use that. So Serato's range is from C3 on your keyboard up to D sharp 4. And we're going to hit find samples and see if it makes some arbitrary marks for us. It does, perfect. And then you just go chromatically to test all of them out. I'm making new ones because I went way out of range, but that's okay. And what I'm listening for in the chops are the chords. So I'm listening for the piano where it starts. What might throw you off sometimes is the drums, which we're probably going to filter out or mask anyway with our own. But kind of listen for the start point of the chords, or more importantly, the bass notes if you can hear them. All right, so here's my first pattern. Just something loose that I could work around to add more samples to. Now this particular sample, because it's pitched up, there's a lot of things that we can do. We could try to filter it if we wish. So I can use select all to select all my samples. This filter here is low pass to the left, high pass to the right. So I'm gonna try a high pass first and see what kind of results we get. And if I want to, I can increase it double time, give it more of a chipmunk vibe. But Big K.R.I.T's not on that vibe right now. Or I could do halftime and put it more into the Trap Next Door vibe. So we're going to keep it normal for now. Now we're going to move on to the next sample, see if we can get something interesting. A lot of the soulful stuff sounds like that with the voice, the pianos, or organs. Hopefully we find something of interest that could kind of help us out even further. Some of these I don't recognize since I chopped them or acquired them, so let's see what we got. This is kind of like a mystery pop beat, to be honest with you. I'm going to turn it down a little bit and see if it blends with my current pattern. Let's do find samples. So in this example, find samples didn't find anything. Isn't that something? So I'm going to press the first key down. So I want to catch that voice. So I'm going to hold down C and then I'm going to press D when it gets around here. I can layer that up. Just the very first part, this particular MIDI note here, which is that piano, I can layer it up there before it starts getting choppy. So let's do that. All right, so let's hear what this sounds like together. So the bass line's happening right here in that first sample. Let's fix that. We don't want that happening. So I'm gonna select them all and probably shorten them depending on when that bass line comes in. And for the same story here, since this is voice again, we're gonna go ahead and high pass filter it a little bit. So let's move on to our third sample. I'm feeling kind of serendipitous because with the vibe of those kind of tracks, it's going to be bass heavy. So it's good that we have voice. It's good that we have piano, and they're kind of in the soul funk range from that era of records. I kind of want to tie the bottom together and low pass filter something instead. But if that doesn't happen, I'll just use an 808. So I'm going to load another joint. Let's move it up to, or move it down to C# minor. So there's some guitars in there. Maybe we can expose those. Rewind it back. Let's see what we got. So now that we got our three amigos together, let's add some live drum elements. Now with the trap drums, we all know how to do that by now. So with the live stuff, which probably throw you off a little bit, is the context in which you would use them. So I would just go light. I would do simple straight hi-hat patterns, tom rolls, snare rolls, things like that. So in my case, I'll probably do something like real simple, real light work. Cool, and it sounds really live, so we can fix that with filters. All right, so we got a movement going. Now I'm gonna put this here. I'm gonna go ahead and create a new pattern, and we're gonna go ahead and trap it out real quick. We'll call these drums. And I'm gonna put a really simple trappy trap type pattern to it, just with like regular snares and kicks and straight hi-hats. And then once I start getting the vibe for it, throw the 808s and probably some triplets or what have you. So let's get that started first, just the hats, or the hats and the snares. All right, so we got a simple pattern going. Now we could probably add the 808 and get that going. And then we could start talking about some of the other outlier elements to kind of liven things up a little bit. So with the 808, we kind of have a cheat sheet with this particular setup because we know the scale's in C# minor. So on the 808, I'll make sure it's set to cut itself. I'm gonna right click, go to piano roll. I'm going to ensure that my scale highlight is on C# minor. And then I can kind of just draw the bass in. I don't need to follow none of these notes at all. I just need to know this is C#. I need to find a range where the 808 is living. So right around here. Double click, turn slide on, which is this ramp right here, accept it, and drop it down. That works out for me. Let's go ahead and duplicate that process. Here, we have something interesting. We could probably do this instead. And then on this one, pull it up. And we use portamento instead. Now what I'm going to do is assign this to the actual mixer so we can set up our sidechain real quick. I know where my kick is. I'm going to use the FL peak controller. That's going to help us out a ton. And then with that on the kick track, I want to have it behave and affect the fader on the 808 track, which is here. So link to controller, internal controller, peak, mapping formula inverted, remove conflicts, accept. Now the kick is going to drive the 808 volume fader. So at this point, let's talk about a loose arrangement real quick. So I'm gonna right click on drums. I'm gonna split it by channel. Dirty South Beats, Trap's big brother, usually has pretty straight patterns as far as hats and open hi-hats and stuff. There's not too much triplets. There might be some rolls, but it's not as apparent. It's usually straight hi-hats. So I'm gonna have it pick up with the straight hi-hats. I'm bringing the snare with those as well, the real snare. And I'm just gonna let it hang low for the first part of this track and see how that sounds, or maybe double each section if I need to. And the 808 when it dropped first, not right away, so I might move that 808 over a little bit. Now, one more thing, we want to add some cohesiveness to using all those samples at the same time. Let's see if we can solo these. We can pan that one. Once you got the pans and levels figured out, then I probably on the bus track of these guys put a real filter on it so they can get all the way out the way of my 808. So I'm gonna do the Clean Sweep Pro on it. I'm gonna use the high pass section, turn it up, turn the type up, turn the order up, get a steeper curve, find one that works. That cleaned it up tremendously and I didn't even have to really think about it. So then we're gonna do a reverb. I have some of the soft tube stuff. So I'm gonna bring out this particular reverb and use probably a hall, the EMT hall. And then I'm gonna adjust the reverb mix on it. All right, and then with my real drums, I wanna add something really light. I'm gonna route them here as well. I'll unmute those, and I'm probably gonna put the Wolf compressor on it to kind of give us a lo-fi element. Turn that way down. There we go. Let's trap it out. So now you're in the ballpark. At this point, there's a lot of things you can do. If you're nasty with the keys, you can pull out an arpeggiator or a classic synthesizer and play some stuff in the C# minor chords. In my case, I'm not that nasty with, I'm not a maestro yet, but I do have hacks. So one of the hacks I wanted to show you today while we're on the topic of Serato, Cable Guys dropped a new plugin too last week, which is called Halftime. And that'll add a whole nother dimension to your track. Very similar to what Gross Beat does, but more organized and simpler to use. So check this out. I have it muted. So let's say you found something you like. There's 1,000 ways to automate that, but you know, my favorite is just automating on and on. So I'm gonna right click. I'm going to do create automation clip. It's going to do it for the extension of our loops or our project. We're going to use right click to draw points. I only want that automation probably just in the beginning. So I'm going to do it like this, do 2 right clicks to make 2 dots. Use left click to bring that second dot down. I'll pull this one down and bring it all the way in. This way I could probably use it again at the end of the arrangement if I wanted to. In the plugin itself, we're going to keep it on and let the automation turn it off. Cool. So I'm actually gonna double that up and see if it'll let me do that. Crazy, right? But anyway, thank you for joining me today. If you got any comments, questions, or concerns about any of these particular methods or workflows, definitely let us know in the comments below. If you're not a subscriber, definitely subscribe. And if you want to reach out to us on social media, you can follow me at MGTheFuture on Twitter and Instagram, and be sure to also follow at Maschine Masters. Thank you guys for your time and your support. Until next time, peace.